Game of Shrooms, hosted by artist Attaboy, is a yearly global scavenger hunt where artists from around the world hide mushroom-themed art out in public for people to find. Every year I say I'm going to partake, and every year I end up missing it. So this year, I dropped all the projects I was working on, asked my boyfriend if he wanted to join, and we got to work. So for the bulk of our structures, we used aluminum foil and shaped it until we both had a vague mushroom shape that we were happy with. I feel like that's a good size. What say you?
It's fine, mine's a bit more of a chode, but we'll see how that looks when it's built out.
Then we heated up some oil-based clay in a crock pot and brushed that on to get a base layer. Then applied warm bits by hand as it cooled. Here you can see Alex is already using tools to get some of his details while I'm still in the bulking process. Alex got going with some deep gills on his mushroom. Meanwhile, I'm still smoothing, going between a guitar string tool and rubbing alcohol to really get the clay level. And here you can see Alex also using rubbing alcohol to smooth out his gills. Here Alex is using a loop tool to add some texture to his stock, which he once again smooths with alcohol. I kept my details simple, choosing just to add a skirt to mine, while Alex added a face to his. But my camera chose to focus on aluminum foil instead. Whoops! Then for my gills, I switched between a wood tool, a needle tool, and a loop tool to get some natural variation. And lastly, Alex added some warts to his mushroom cap by dipping into the hot clay and just tapping them on. That's cute! Yours is so good! And with that, our sculptures were done, and it was time to move on to the molds. We were doing dump molds, which we were then going to seam once they were cured. So we got screws, which we heated up and secured in the center of our plastic containers so we could secure our mushrooms. The container would be our mold box for our molds. We made sure that our mushrooms were nice and centered with plenty of room around them, then added some hot glue to make sure our screws were secure. And that brings us to our materials. For these molds, we used Mold Max 30, which is a tin cure silicone that has a ratio of 10 parts to 100. Then we need a scale for accurate measuring, a container to mix in, as well as paint sticks to mix, and gloves. The containers we used had measurements on the sides, making it easy to figure out how much mold material we would need. And then it was time to get to mixing and measuring. Once our silicone was thoroughly mixed, it was time to pour. Doing a high pour helps prevent bubbles, but you can also get fancy and use a vacuum chamber, which will pull out the bubbles, or a pressure pot to help shrink the bubbles. Now that our molds were poured, it was time to let them cure. Now that our molds had cured, it was time to remove the molds by first removing the screw from the bottom, then slicing open the containers. But do it the way Alex did and not like me.
Don't cut yourself.
Did you see the guy illustrating it online?
No.
Oh.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
Go Band-Aid yourself. Oh!
Not that bad.
Oh, I thought it. Okay.
You want to see if my skin is on there?
Oh, is that what that is? Okay. Is that all skin? Oh my god, your thumb too. I didn't jinx shit. I was watching the whole time you were working and just biting my lip. So just Just the trick is just don't cut yourself.
Shut up. Then we cut a zigzag seam into our molds that allows the mold to seam nicely and hold in place like a zipper, rather than just cutting a straight line, which would be more likely to shift, and then remove the sculptures. To get an idea of how much resin we would need, we filled our molds with water and then measured out the volume. And now it was time to cast our mushrooms. First, we sprayed mold release to help prevent our cast from sticking to our molds. For casting, we used Smooth Cast 300, which is a liquid plastic with a 1:1 ratio. We poured 1 part A to 1 part B, then gave it the old razzle dazzle, then poured it into our molds and just waited for the magic to happen. Then we popped those suckers out, and ta-da! We had our mushrooms. We did a little bit of sanding and dremeling to clean up any sharp bits or blemishes, and then it was time to paint. For our base, we both chose to go with a shimmery ivory primer. For Alex's first mushroom, he started with a green base, then layered in reds, yellows, and creams. For his second mushroom, he watered down the paint to create washes that he then blotted off with a paper towel. And lastly, dry brushed some white to bring out some of the high points. For my first mushroom, I started with a purple wash on my gills and then a pink wash for my stalk. Then I went with the same purple and pink for my cap, and then decided to add a moon and stars. For my second mushroom, I was going to try to mimic these photos that I took. So the base of my mushroom, I made it an off-white, and then I used white to try to make it look like those spots were really glowing. And then I went in layering my colors over that white. Unfortunately, it was not coming out the way I wanted, so I decided to start over. I instead went with a peach for my cap and white for my gills. Then added a pop of orange under my skirt. Then, to make it more interesting, I decided to add some gold leafing. First, I laid down glue around my cap and skirt and let it dry. Then I laid my leafing and lightly brushed away the excess. Lastly, I did an orange wash, which I wiped away to bring out the details of my gills and skirt. And with that, our mushrooms were done. And now that our mushrooms were done, there was just one thing left to do. Go out and hide them. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to check out one of my other videos, or please consider subscribing. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!